comment, like, and subscribe. What's happening, YouTube? So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this video out there. I haven't got all my parts yet. It may be maybe a week and a half before I get them all. And in 3 days on Wednesday, the end of the month for April, I'm getting surgery done. I'm getting a reverse implant. If you ever seen that or heard of it, look it up. It's pretty wild. They're gonna replace all this because it's been 3 months and the surgery they did, it's torn again. So I've got very limited motion with my shoulder and everything. It's been real painful. Anyway, working through all that, it's taken me about a day and a half, and I've got the supercharger kit on. Just turn my light on, show you where I'm at. So what I'm waiting for pieces is there's a tube that goes across here. I'm waiting for that to come in. I've got a couple new silicone adapters because the one I had wouldn't fit over my 75 throttle body. So I've got new ones coming for there and for here. My power pipe's on, looks good. My fuel system's done. Pretty much once I get everything in and tighten it down, I can put my fan and shroud back on. But that's pretty cool. That's the Anderson Racing belt tensioner, which will definitely keep the belt tighter. This is a heavy duty Gates belt I've got on it now. But other than that, it's just simple stuff. I've got to get in here and take my fender liner out so I can put my mass air meter on right here, and the filter, I'll go ahead and clean it up. But once I get that off, I got to take the wheel off, the fender liner out, hook that up. That's pretty straightforward and be done. It shouldn't take me 30 minutes to have this thing running. I've already changed the oil. I've got my feed and drain lines on it. That's my new catch can with the breathers coming off the Anderson valve covers, one back there, one up here. So that's taken care of. And today I've got my blow-off valve hardware coming in. So there's an opening right here on the power pipe. There's one right here on the boost charge tube. I've got to put my blow-off valve on it and connect it. So hopefully I'll be able to finish that today. But just real simple stuff. Everything else bolted up works great. And hopefully I'll have some updates for you soon. It may be even slower progress with my shoulders in a sling next time you see me. But I wanted to throw this out there so you can see some of the things I've done to get this point with the fuel system and all that. So I hope you liked the video. Comment, like, and subscribe. Appreciate everybody that's been following me for all these years. Hopefully I'm still giving you really cool and interesting content. Talk to you soon. All right, just because nothing fits like it's supposed to, first thing is with my studs in place, the valve cover wouldn't go on, so I open up the holes a little bit to 3/8. Valve cover drops in. Unfortunately, I had to unbolt the air conditioning compressor because, as you can see right here, the valve cover and the compressor have interference. They're touching. So I took my rubber hammer, clearanced it just a little bit, and it still kind of hits, but I think it's good enough where I can tighten the valve cover down and then put this back on. It's just going to be laying against it, but who cares? It's all attached anyway. But something to know, if I ever take this valve cover off, I got to loosen the AC compressor, so I had to get the belt loose and everything. But just one of those things where things are supposed to fit and they don't. So never mind, I could have taken the studs out and put them back in after the fact. That's not good enough for me. I don't want to have to take those out. They're a pain. But hitting the AC compressor, come on. All right, in anticipation, put my baffles on. I had a JLT catch can hooked here that came off the main vacuum source on the intake down here to PCV. So I pulled the PCV and the hose off, put a rubber cap on it. I'm gonna stick it back down in the back of the intake so you don't have a leak. And you might thinking, why are you doing that? Because I'm no longer have a PCV system. We're gonna have it vented, so you can't have vacuum, you have a heck of a vacuum leak. So we're going to cap off what we don't need over here, no vacuum there, and then the ventilation will come out in both valve covers into a new catch can that hadn't come in yet. I'm gonna try to mount it somewhere right in here. We'll see, to be determined. All right, so I got the intake off, probably smart to go ahead and put my injectors in. So I've got 39-pound injectors here and a brand new meter I've never used, calibrated for 39-pound injectors, 75 bullet. I've got a 75 bullet on the car. It's this old one here, which is calibrated for 19. Those that you've been following me know I put 27-pound injectors in this car, and on E85 it ran perfect. It was just enough ratio to give me more fuel, but not throw the computer in a weird mode. The problem is I've got to drain my tank and put straight 93 in it because it won't run right on E85. But I think I'm gonna go ahead, pull the 27-pound injectors out, which are in here, put the 39 pounds in, then I can put the intake back on. That part will be done. When I go to put my mass air on, I'll put the new mass air on it. I'm gonna do a fuel upgrade while I'm in here, so I'm about to unhook these lines and get that sorted. So a few things going on, a lot of projects at one time. I might break up these videos so they're shorter so you guys will watch the whole thing and not get kind of bored with it, if you know what I'm saying. So valve covers, and then we'll have probably something with the fuel system I'll do, and then we'll talk about that supercharger. All right, stay tuned. Through, but valve covers are on and in place. I went ahead and put my 39-pound Cobra injectors in here and took out the 27, and I modified my mass air. I took the old bullet off and I have the new bullet, which is calibrated for 39-pound injectors. So what I'm doing now is actually working on the fuel. So what I've decided to do here is I have a couple boxes here, Vivo Energy fuel filters, number 8 feed line, that's PTFE, with a box full of PTFE fittings. That's going to connect right up here with this. This is a connector that goes into the stock fuel line, fuel rail. There's part number. And you disconnect it right here, this one. Plug this in and make a line like a 45-degree angle, and then you'll have a fitting, and then you have your line run to the back. And that'll go to the stainless filter, which I already have one, but I've got an extra one just in case later on I need it. This is the On3 Performance drop-in hat and tank for the Foxbody. With it you get this, which is the hanger with the lines ready to go. And you have the option to select different pumps. I selected the Hellcat pump. This is the 525 liter per hour. You can see it's in their own box, and they even have it printed on the fuel pump. So you know you're getting a quality part, not some knockoff. So these will be going in. This is the filter for it. And then these are just the new connection pieces, the top ring and some clamps and stuff like that. But either way, I will be putting this on. I have special ORB 6 fittings that screw into here. One is a adapter to number 6 and one is adapter to number 8. And then this is a painless wiring relay upgrade kit. There's the part number. It includes different wire and a relay just to go to the pump itself, because you don't really trust the factory wires and they're old, so might as well get something fresh with a relay, and that'll upgrade my fuel system. Maybe thinking, what about the return line? The return line, I'm actually going to use the stock return line. If for some reason not returning enough, I can patch into the factory feed line and make that my return, because I'm not going to be using that when I put in the new PTFE line. So just something there. You don't have to buy basically a new return line. You can use the factory stuff, should be just fine. All right, so I'm going to put all this on and then put it back together, fire it up, put 93 in it, drain all the E85 out, and that way everything should run just like it would, but only on normal pump gas now, no more E85 until I can get it tuned. But this is the next step for the fuel upgrades. As you know, all this is going towards this Vortech Supercharger kit I will be putting on once I get the rest of my pieces. They're currently on back order from Vortech. So basically the drain line and the feed line both are on back order. So why you always double check your work? Took the pump out. See the orientation? Black on top, red on the bottom. It won't fit that way. The plug is this way. Well, on this side, it's red on top, black on the bottom. So if I go to plug these in like this, the way the connector's supposed to be, see there? It's completely backwards. That would smoke this pump.
So that's why you always double check stuff. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm either gonna depin here and switch it, or here. Either way it's the same. Pull a little tab, pull the wire out, switch it over, pop it back in. A few things to keep aware of if you're putting this together at home. Stuff just don't bolt in like you think it does. Well, here we are, another problem with the On3 hat. So it's supposed to be ORB threads number 6. I've got ORB threads 6 to an 8 and 6 to a 6. That's my return. This is my feed, and they will not screw in here. Barely get one turn on it, and then it gets too tight. Both sides same way. I even used some different fittings. Barely one turn and they get really tight. Yeah, so I've ordered a tap for this. It should be here this afternoon, so I'm going to try to tap it and just see if I can clean the threads up, because it looks, I mean, they look right, but I don't know. This is more aggravation so far. They didn't label this positive negative, so I made positive and negative to make sure the wires color match after I had to repin this connector. All right, I have this assortment of these plastic disconnect tools, and you want to take this one off. It's the one that the Schrader valve's on. This is the bigger one. And what I do to get this line to pop off, I spray a little WD-40 in there, work it around, and you pop this on like this. And then you rotate it back and forth, and as you're pushing in, you pull back against this, and it should pop right off. And then I'm going to disconnect this line because I'm not going to use that line anymore. I got my own feed line I'm going to do. And then this fitting will go right in there like this. And then I will take this off and clip my line to it. Then I'll have a new feed line going to factory fuel rails. If you're using aftermarket fuel rails, you don't even have to worry about a lot of this, but I'm going to use factory rails for now. So today I'm going to be replacing the Vortech style press-on pulley with a Griptec replaceable pulley that you don't have to press on. You just loosen a few screws and you switch the pulley, change your boost as easy as you want. I had this pulley left over from a project I did on the white blur for Gabe Briley. This pulley, I believe, on his car is hitting about 13 pounds of boost, which should be perfect for mine. If it's hitting the same, we'll find out. After I changed his pulley from a 2.9 to a 2.76, he started hitting 16 pounds, so we'll see. But anyway, I got that. I had to buy this hub because it didn't come with it. And what I'm gonna do is go in here, take this screw out, put my 3-jaw puller, pull this off. This hub goes on place, the long side goes down like this, and then you bolt this on. Not only does it look cool, it's got this different material which grips the belt and works really well. I run this on my other supercharged stuff. So as you can tell, that's a 3.0 pulley. This is a 2.9. So here we go. All right, I noticed when I was putting the hub on, it didn't quite want to fit. Didn't quite want to go down over it. But if I turned it at an angle, it went over it fine down in here. See there? At the top it didn't. Sometimes that can happen. Pressing pulleys on, it can kind of mushroom this top. So just take you a flat file like this and go in here. And we're going to work that in and give us some clearance. It's just up here at the top. So we're going to work that in, give it some clearance, and then wipe all this off. And once I get it where I want, we'll put the hub on. All right, so once you get that, I even took a little bit of sandpaper here and went around the shaft itself. Just got a little bit of debris and stuff off. Got it real smooth. I took my round file, went inside the pulley, made sure it was nice and smooth. And now I put a little bit of grease on it and then kind of just tap it down. So I'll take my rubber hammer, I'll get it the rest of the way. This is going to seat down here on the bottom, if you can see that. And then I'll put the pulley on it. But this is just putting a hub on it that will not turn when you take this off. And that's what it's going to look like. Cool, right? All right, one thing to note, the stock bolt that I had in here for the stock Vortech pulley is too long with this hub. See, that's tight. and it's sticking out, a lot of gap. So on the white blur on Gabe's car, I actually had a different bolt that was the right thread, had an Allen head that was black, looked really cool. Not only does it look cool, it's got a primary function, no belt slip. So I can't wait to get that on. The 2.9 pulley, it may see way too much boost in my combo, but we won't know till we try it. I'm looking to get 12 to 14. This may be right in that area. All right, and here's the finished product. Center bolt torque down, outer bolts torque down, 10 foot-pounds of torque for this one, 6 to 7 pounds of torque for this one. And you can see how it sits on that lip. And there we go. Good to go. Pretty easy to do. Just take your time, shouldn't have any problem. So my tap finally came in, 9/16 by 18 there. And I'm trying to tap this out. Let's hope it works. Well, my tap did work. I can thread it in. Unfortunately, as you can see, you can't go but so deep because it bottoms out there and the tap won't go all the way down to cut all the threads. So this is how far it gets down, not enough to compress that O-ring from leaking. So now I've got a choice. I can put some thread sealant on there and hopefully that'll seal it enough, and then try to put this in the vise and tighten this down, and maybe it'll go ahead and cut the rest of the threads on there. But either way, this hat is proven to be very troublesome for what I paid for it with the pump. But once it's done, it'll work. It's just, yeah, don't think you're gonna buy this and throw it on at home. So something definitely was wrong. Anyway, there you go. I'll continue working on the fuel system. I will tell you, I've got the main feed line done. I did some tests last night to clean the line, but that's a PTFE line with a 90-degree adapter on it. And on the other end, it goes to my fuel filter, and it's gonna run up here and connect right there to the fuel rail. See the AN adapter. All right, so to finish this up, I was able to get my fittings in it. The smaller 6 orb to 6 AN fit pretty tight, even though I put some thread sealer on it. The other one for the 8 AN is a little deeper, so I couldn't get it to go all the way in. I didn't want to run the risk of stripping it, so I got as tight as I could with some sealer. Hopefully it won't leak. What I'm going to do is a test. So I'm actually going to put this in some fuel, and I'm going to cap this off once I hook that line up clearly. And I'm going to pressurize it to see if it does leak. I'd rather have it leak out here in my hand than I would once it's in the tank and actually up in the car. But as I mentioned before, these threads were not correct. I had to tap them. I got them correct, got my fittings in, and of course I've got right angle adapters here on it, because when you put it up in the car, you don't want a line with a big kink on it. So hopefully that's going to clear without any issue once I get the tank in it. I got this Hellcat pump all installed. All I have to now is put a little clamp here and put this on, and we'll be good to go. But here's the tank. I'm about to pull the factory hat off. I won't be using that anymore. And inside is a 190 liter per hour pump I just put in there a couple months ago. So I'll be switching that out with the Hellcat pump. But all this is gonna change. But you can see the orientation. So your lines come out and kind of point. If you're looking back at the car, about the 1, 2 o'clock position. So I'm gonna do those. I also have a wiring upgrade, different wires and a relay to run the pump. I won't be using these. I've got the tank out. I tipped it, drained all the ethanol out of it, letting it sit here and dry a little bit. All right, a little more modification on the bracket. So you can see where the hat sits and the pump sit. It's exactly the same length now. The Hellcat pump is definitely much girthier right in here, see that? So what I had to do is I had to cut this bottom piece of the bracket because it was causing the pump to push at a weird angle, couldn't get it right. So I cut that little piece off there. Instead of 2 hose clamps, I just got 1 on here, which is all it needs. And I got it straight. So if you look, they're both straight orientation and it's the exact same height. So I'm not gonna have this crushing our filter when we push it down like happens if this is too long, and if it's too short, it won't suck the fuel from the bottom of the tank. So it's very critical you measure from a known good one to your bracket. So now it's gonna work out. I'm gonna put it in, put some fuel in it, put the filter on it, and then I'll put power to it and see if I got any leaks or any problems. All right, once you get your pump in and oriented the way it needs to be, here's how mine sits up. Even though the bar's kind of at an angle a little bit, that's okay. That's okay. The sock's in the little catch, so it's fine. Don't forget your rubber O-ring that goes on here. They give you one in the pack and use the factory one. I ended up using the factory one. It was just a little bit thinner than this.
and they give you a new ring. I just use their new ring, why not, and tighten it down until these are all the way to here, and it's ready to go. Probably difficult to see in there, but it's sitting down in there fine. It's not crushing my sock filter. And now all I gotta do is hook power to it, put some fuel in it, and we'll see how this thing works. All right, show you a trick on the return line. This is the factory return line, and this was the end on it. See that? I cut that off. I have a number 6A end to 1/4 inch nipple. Put that on here. Actually slides in real nice like that. And then I've got a clamp here. Put it on, and we'll tighten that down just to make sure. Then this goes on to my 8M fins on top of the tank. Then I can use the factory return line without having to make a new one. So I just got back from the store, so 93 octane. Put about a half a gallon or a gallon in it. I'm gonna hook these wires to my battery, and we'll see what happens. Ready? Success. So there we go. So now not only do we make sure the pump works, but we purge the lines. So now all I have to do is wire up my relay and put some terminals on it. Maybe I'll do a quick connector or something just to make it look nice for later. I'll work on that, get it back in there. So I ran my extra wire from the relay down right here in the rubber part of the trunk floor there. Ran it down, put loom on it. I put this nice industrial style quick disconnect on it for the main wire. I used to ground out the existing harness, so now I'll come in here and take it out next time. I'll pop this apart and I'll unplug those. Everything pulls out real nice. And it's oriented, so it only goes in one way. I gotta push these little rubbers in a little deeper. Tank is in and connected. And you might see the filter too good, but that's the inline stainless steel fuel filter for ethanol. And the PTFE line comes in, goes through and goes out, and then the factory return hooks up there. All right, so just to save you all the board and stuff, here it is back together. Put the intake back on it. I did put my breather tank on it. It's not really mounted yet. It's just sitting here. I'm gonna attach it to this bracket, need a bigger hose clamp. Made my lines here, come out of the valve cover and go over to the tank, and one back there. That's really the biggest change. So what I'm trying to make sure now is I got regular pump gas in it, 39-pound injectors, Pro M meter calibrated for 39s, brand new. I've never used this. I bought it a year ago, and I tried to use it and it didn't want to idle right, so I just took it off. So I didn't even have, 3 minutes of runtime. So I'm gonna see if it'll fire if I got enough gas in it. If not, I'll add a little bit more 93 gas, make sure I don't have any leaks on the lines, and then we will fire it up. Reset the battery because it didn't want to run right with the old ethanol tune or whatever, the way it had learned. So now it's got to relearn. So I got to warm it up, drive it around, and hopefully the computer will relearn on its own. But no fuel leaks, we're good to go. Much better. I had to raise the idle up a little bit. Could be because I've got, instead of the vacuum system, with the catch can now I have, I don't have the vacuum, but the idle was a little low. Now I got the idle up. Fuel pressure's bouncing because I only have like 1.5 gallons in the tank. See the idle sitting there about 950. Because I set the idle up on the throttle body, I've got to go in and set the TTS signal again, so it's under 1 volt, like 0.996 or 997, and that's right here. So once it gets fully warmed up, we'll make sure the idle's stable. I don't have to adjust it anymore, and then I'll set the TTS, and then we'll put some more fuel in it, and we'll go for a test drive. All right, and just to finish off the fuel video, see everything's back together. The new valve covers with the breather going over there.
the fuel gauge here. I didn't have the adapter to hook up my nitro stuff yet, so I got to get an adapter to come off of there so it tees off where that gauge goes. But you can see how the number 8 line runs up. It's got a 90-degree fitting with the adapter there to the stock fuel line. And it's holding 44 pounds of pressure with no vacuum, and about 39.40 with vacuum like normal. Here's the breather off of this valve cover. Those are the Anderson 4 valve covers, and this is the breather tank. All right, so now we got to drive it to the store and put pump gas in here, because I only had like 2-3 gallons I put in it. See, it's down about 1 peg from the red. So seems to be running all right. Dude, I had a moment. That pump pumped so much fuel that as I tried to slosh the fuel turning, it tried to cut off because it's running out of gas. Hopefully I make it to the store without any issue, but man, you can't run this thing low. I've always said that about big pumps. Oh yeah, we're gonna make it, no problem. Nice. Yeah, I noticed when I pulled out of my driveway, it was not taking the gas, like it didn't have any fuel. All right, so I put 8 gallons in it. Let's see where the thing goes to. Should be just a little over half tank. Yep. All right, perfect. Now we shouldn't have any more problem with it bogging and running out of fuel. Runs good for 39-pound injectors. All right, so today I got my Vortech lower crank pulley in. This is the one with the stock, not underdrive serpentine, and then the 8 rib for the supercharger. You can tell based on the one that came with the kit I bought, that one has a much smaller for underdrive for the serpentine and a 10 rib, which I don't want because I'm not going to use that. So anyway, I got this off the corral. I got on there, did me a good deal. So now I'm about to put it on. I pulled the fan and the shroud off. Now I'm going to pull the serpentine belt off. Then I'll go in here and take the crank pulley bolts out and put this one in its place. So pretty simple step number 1 to get this going. And yes, you do need longer bolts to go into that. And so these are the ones that Vortech calls from their kit. They're 3/8 by 16, 1 3/4 long, along with some lock washer or flat water, well, lock washers, yep. All right, so I've started by unhooking the battery, disassembling the alternator, laying it to the side because the wires are cramped. You can't just unplug it. And then took the bracket off the whole alternator and the smog pump eliminator. That bolt there is tricky because you got to get around this. Anyway, got all that off. Got my crank pulley on and tightened down with the bolts. So now I'm ready to start putting the supercharger bracketry on. Before I get started, I know this can has to move and bend. I think you got to move like 1 bolt forward or something. So I'll do that next, make sure that's out of the way, and then I'll start on with the next. All right, so get my bracket all set up, got all my bolts identified. I had a smog pump eliminator on my car already, so I mounted it here. You'll see that it goes directly to the back of the bracket. There's a small spacer that goes in this bolt hole here. And then here's your smog pump eliminator. Because I can't take my alternator off, I'll leave it up there for now. And later on, it'll actually hook up down here. There's a weird little J bracket that goes in this. Looks like this right here. So this hooks to the alternator. It hooks in there like that. And then the alternator goes from here to there. So I don't need this nut, I can just screw that in, and that'll be my support for the alternator. So like I say, I can put that on when I get in the car. Rest of it's just manhandling this over there and mounting it on the car. All right, some more of the install. You see the crank pulley here, the alternator, the smog pump eliminator. You can see how your alternator orientation has to go to fit. And then your little box here, you basically here, you take the 2 screws out, you put the whole contraption forward and put it in the back hole. So there you go. That tilts it a little bit out of the way. And now all the basic accessories here are mounted up. I have to clean up these wires a little bit. I don't like those, and loom them so they look nice.
But for now, that is the accessories back in place. All right, you'll have this Vortech little mount here for your tensioner. Your tensioner drops in. It's really simple. It's got a little groove right here for the pin to sit in so it doesn't turn. And then you use your existing hardware to tighten that down. And then this goes right here. It actually goes in. Let's see if I can do it like this. It goes behind that bracket there, hooks in. And this hole goes over this stud. Before you put it on, put 2 standard flat washers there as a spacer. All right, well, I'm gonna finish up for tonight. I've got the serpentine belt on it there. Tensioner on. It's gonna be a pain to get my fan on because of those bolts, but we'll figure that out when we get to it. But everything's on there. I gotta see, I think that's where the supercharger stuff goes. But before I put the supercharger on, I've got to get my drain line, tap the pan, and all that good stuff. So well, with a little finagling, I got a bolt here and here just to hold the supercharger in place. Alright, so I'm trying to cut the hole out here. Take the existing hole at about 1 inch and cut all the way around. And I got my Dremel tool with a cutting wheel, but as you can see, it's wearing my cutting wheel out. I've got just about a little over 1/3 the way around. I got to go all the way around here. Then I'll take a file and I'll file the rough edges out and make sure the pipe fits in there. So a little tedious, but this is what you need to do to make your power pipe work. And here's the payoff. There you go. Now I'll take a file, go in here, and hopefully my tube will fit and I won't have to cut anymore. All right, the next trick is to take some vacuum line and get it where it bends like this. Put in your vise, cut it on the back, and when you do, it'll fit up in the hole. And it'll start looking like this, where you don't have the exposed edge. So you basically just fit this around, and then you won't have any sharp edges, and it'll look nice and trim when you're done. So let me finish this up. All right, nice and trim. And then we'll put this in. See how that fits. No problem with the bypass down here at the bottom. And then there you go. So from the outside, looking at it, it looks very nice and trim with plenty of room so you can move your tube around. I gotta get in there and put my filter on it, but that's what it looked like. And then there's a rubber elbow that goes back to supercharger. All right, so now that I have got the hole for the power pipe, that's just a mass air wire out of the way. I cleaned up my wiring here. I took my nitrous solenoid out of the way for now, just till I can get everything installed, and I'll reinstall the nitrous stuff. It's pretty easy, just a couple plug-ins and hook up the hose. Right now I'm getting ready to put the supercharger on for the last time. I had to get my drain set up, so you tighten that up. I had this line. This is like a number 10 line that I had. And I've got a 3/4 inch nipple on this. Tighten it up, hose clamp, it's on there. So when I drop it down, once I figure out where I'm gonna put it, I can cut this the length. And then I gotta tap the pan. So I've got the tap for the pan. I just need to punch it and put that in, wait for my fitting so I get it in the exact same spot, and then that'll be done. All right, well, I'd cut my radiator hose. You don't need this piece, you need the angle piece, which is inside your factory. So what you wanna do is just cut it about 2 inches and about 2.5 inches there. This is gonna go on here. It's gonna give us our nice curve, and then our tube's gonna come across. Right now, I'm still waiting on the tube, but that's what that's for. All right, so I marked the pan. I started tapping it. There we go. So now I gotta keep on hitting that. It's just kind of tight in here to sway bar and everything, but keep tapping it, open it up. Opening it up where this is gonna fit in there after I get this tap in there and tap out the threads. All right, after some effort there, I got the tap going in. Put some heavy grease on it.
Got it started. Trick is, don't get the hole too big where it'll be too loose. Mine's perfect. And then once I get done, I'll pull that out and I'm gonna drain the oil. Luckily I got a drain right here in the front, which will help. I'm gonna drain the oil, pour some extra in it, make sure it's all out. So a trick is I use this little magnet and I can go in here and get all the debris out, reach down in here, get anything that might have fallen. And because I've already cleaned it, see how it came out clean? I did that a couple times and had a lot of debris came out on my paper towel, which I just threw in there. But that also helps to get the debris out. All right, and there's the finished product. The fitting is in. I cut my line to fit. And for silicone, this is what I used. The Right Stuff 1 minute gasket maker gray. This stuff is awesome and seals quick. For the fitting I had, it was a 3/8 MPT to 5/8 barb. And then I've got this number 10 line that I'm gonna use. I'm just gonna cut it, push it on with a hose clamp, and it'll be ready to go. But that's what fits that tight. So that should be done. All right, to show you where you're getting your feed line from there, they give you this little pipe that screws into the block with the T fitting and the adapter for your oil pressure sensor gauge. And then they give you this little elbow that goes to your line, and that's how it feeds oil up to the supercharger. So pretty straightforward, just kind of a pain. I went ahead and pulled the filter off because I was gonna change the filter and oil anyway. And then everything else worked out pretty good. So I've changed the oil in it and the filter, and we're good. And this is just a look from the bottom. I did clean up my wires, made sure everything's tied out of the way. That's what the drain looks like hooked up. So we are ready. I even got my new HD belt in. All right.
Well, this will conclude this video just because I don't have any more parts to put on. So stay tuned for the next video. Hopefully I will have the parts installed. I'll show you that real quick and then we'll crank it up and check the timing. I think it's on like 14 degrees. I'll drop it down a few degrees just because I don't have a tune, and we'll see how it does. Stay tuned.